Horror games in 2017 have already started off with a bang. Resident Evil 7, released in January, was the first AAA horror game released since Until Dawn in August 2015. And personally, I loved it. It brought the horror back to Resident Evil, and it was great to play a horror game with a big budget behind it after 17 months of indie games. But RE7 isn't all 2017 has to offer for horror games. In fact, I can't remember being this excited about this many games coming out in such a short span of time. Now, whether the games turn out to be good or not, we'll have to wait to find out, but either way, it's going to be an exciting year to say the least. It's worth noting before we begin that I'm only listing games with either official release dates, or at the very least, a release window sometime this year. As much as I'd love to talk about how cool Year of the Ladybug's concept art looks, or how excited we all are to finally check out Allison Road after its tumultuous development period, those games look a long way off. Regardless, 2017 is going to be packed. So here are my most anticipated horror games of 2017. First, we have Routine, developed by Lunar Software. Been waiting for this since 2012, when its initial release period was in 2013. It's finally coming out this very month in March 2017, barring any unforeseen delays that occur after this video is published. It's a first-person horror exploration game set on an abandoned moon base. That's literally the only sentence you're going to read on their website, routinegame.com. Other than that sentence, an alpha gameplay trailer that's been around since 2013, and a 1-minute release date trailer posted on Halloween last year, the devs have been incredibly quiet about this game. But if Alien Isolation whet your appetite for first-person sci-fi horror, you've been waiting for over 2 years for a game like this to follow it up. Looks like there's gonna be robots, glitching visuals, space stuff. Scary. Narcosis, developed by Honor Code. If you have any underwater-related fears like submechanophobia, which is the fear of underwater objects like sunken ships, Narcosis is a game made just for you. Another game I've been looking forward to for years now. It's an Oculus Rift ready title that thrusts you into the ocean depths to explore the abyss and all the mysteries it holds. The closest thing I've experienced to a realistic abyssal simulation was in the late parts of Frictional Games' Soma, an excellent game I'm going to insist on name dropping at every possible opportunity, and even though it was only a few minutes, it was one of the highlights of the game. Going through a couple hours of that type of thing in virtual reality, yeah, I'm pretty hyped for that. Observer, developed by Bloober Team, the same devs behind Layers of Fear. Slated for release in the second or third quarter of this year, it takes place in a dystopian cyberpunk universe where a special police force, known as Observers, can hack into someone's subconscious for information. In contrast with most of the other games on this list, I've gotten to actually play the demo for this game. As with Layers of Fear, the production value is high, and while I'm optimistic about Observer, I hope that they include more gameplay in this one than their previous horror title. I'm not talking about gameplay like, say, fetching checker pieces from the far corners of the room, random example. I'm talking about an element of danger, something to get the heart pounding a little bit. Even if it turns out to be a purely atmospheric experience, Bloober Team does do atmospheric horror well, and we can expect some cool scripted scares at the very least. Perception, developed by Deep End Games. In Perception, you play as Cassie, a blind woman stuck in a haunted mansion. I was able to play a demo at PAX East last year for about half an hour and enjoyed what I played. Part of the team from Deep End Games worked on the BioShock series, as well as Dead Space, so there's some AAA horror experience behind this title, and it does show. There have been plenty of smaller blind protagonist horror games like Lurking or Sightless, and Perception will have its work cut out to differentiate itself, but in my opinion, it looks exceptional enough to do just that. It has a cool aesthetic, elements of danger, and a potentially rich story to explore. There's a lot to look forward to with this one. Sorry. Friday the 13th, the game, developed by Ilphonic and Gun Media. This was originally slated for 2016, but was delayed to early 2017, and for good reason. It was getting a single-player campaign. While Friday the 13th's 1 vs. 7 multiplayer mode is unique enough, I really can't wait to experience whatever campaign they have in store. I played about 20 hours of this game during the beta last December, and as much fun as it is to play with friends, it was surprisingly creepy when I found myself walking around the campgrounds alone, in silence. As long as Friday the 13th can release relatively bug-free, a goal that seems all but unattainable for many similar horror multiplayer games, this is one that I can see myself sinking a ton of hours into. And that's unique for a horror game, considering most of them are relatively short, one-and-done campaigns. There's a lot of potential here, and hopefully we'll see it fulfilled in early 2017. Little Nightmares, developed by Tarsier Studios and releasing April 27th. This looks about as creepy as a side-scrolling platformer can get. Reminds me of Tim Burton taking over the game Unravel. Also, this weird cook thing in his kitchen remind me of that one scene from The Little Mermaid that I won't include in the video for copyright reasons. I'm not sure how scary a game like Little Nightmares can be, but even if it just turns out to be a dark, atmospheric platformer, I'm perfectly fine with that. Hopefully, Little Nightmares turns out to be a dream game. Get it? Dreams, nightmares. Alright. Ghost Theory, developed by Dreadlocks. Play as a paranormal researcher in this first-person horror game where every location is modeled after real haunted places on Earth. Did I mention you use authentic ghost hunting tools? And yes, it's going to be available for VR. Scheduled for release this December, this is the sort of game that could help rejuvenate the genre a little bit. It's an interesting way to sort of jerry-rig an augmented reality horror game, if you know what I mean. We'll have to see how closely the in-game locations resemble their real-life counterparts, but the idea of the environments in the game being constructed by real people from the past instead of a modern video game designer legitimately gives me goosebumps. I've always wanted to explore that abandoned building on the other side of town, and this could be the game that allows it to happen. Visage, developed by Sad Square Studio. Releasing in the second quarter of this year, Visage is one of the games that rose out of the rubble of Silent Hill's cancellation. Walking around an empty, creepy house? Sure. Creepy ghost girl? Check. We'll probably be seeing this game before we see Allison Road, and while I don't think it will fill the Silent Hills-shaped hole in many of our grimy black little hearts, I hope it helps patch it up a bit. After PT was taken off the PlayStation 4 store and made unavailable forever, many games have come along in vain attempts to capitalize on our collective blue balls, but none of them have done it. Maybe this is the one. Agony, developed by Mad Mind Studio. Releasing in June 2017, Agony takes place entirely in hell. Horrifying demons, disgusting visuals, and a blazing inferno pervade this game, and it looks pretty badass. I played the half-hour Kickstarter demo and liked what I played, though I wonder how they're going to make a full game out of this. Horror games longer than a few hours tend to have trouble avoiding desensitizing the player, and if you play Agony constantly bombarded with horror literally all around you for hours on end, I worry it may destroy the tension and atmosphere after a certain point. Still, this is a horror game that, as far as I know, takes place entirely in hell, so how could they even give you a break? This will be an interesting one to watch, even if it turns out to be a shock factor dependent sensory overload. It'll at least be different from any horror game we've played before. To be honest, I can't wait to go to hell and find out for myself. Outlast 2, developed by Red Barrels. After being pushed back from a fall 2016 release date, Outlast 2 is finally officially coming out on April 25th. The long-awaited sequel to a game with fairly universal praise. This time we're leaving the asylum and heading into the cornfields. From the little I played in the Outlast 2 demo, there seemed to be a bigger emphasis on the supernatural aspect of Outlast's universe, which I'm excited to see. After playing through Resident Evil 7, I'm not sure the whole redneck cult angle can be done much better than that, but even so, I trust Red Barrels to give us a polished, exciting horror game, and I'm hoping that's exactly what we get with Outlast 2. Scorn, developed by Ebb Software. With a release window of simply 2017, I have no idea when this game is actually coming out, but I hope it's as soon as possible because just look at these graphics. For H.R. Geiger fans out there, you've probably wanted to see a game like this for a long time. Those of you who have watched my videos for a while may know I'm a pretty big fan of the 2015 point-and-click game Tormentum Dark Sorrow, so naturally something that looks like Scorn is a dream come true for me. It's kind of crazy that I'm this hyped about something I don't know anything about. I have no clue what the story of this game is or what the gameplay will be like. I'm just completely enraptured by the aesthetic alone. Like, when can I get my hands on this game? Since it's being created by only 10 people, yes, you heard correctly, 10 people, I'm really hoping that this game becomes a reality after all. Their official Twitter said that there would be a new trailer coming, and hopefully with the trailer we get a more precise release window, because I seriously can't wait for this. Call of Cthulhu, the official video game, developed by Cyanide Studio. Releasing in the fourth quarter of this year, this may be the Lovecraft horror game we've all been waiting for. It's going to be a semi-open world role-playing horror game following a private investigator as he uncovers ancient horrors, so, you know, typical Lovecraft stuff. The last Call of Cthulhu game, Dark Corners of the Earth, was a buggy, overdrawn mess based on Lovecraft's story Shadow over Innsmouth, but certain sequences within that game remain some of the coolest I've ever seen, particularly the 3-minute hotel escape. I'm hoping that the official video game can match the same cosmically oppressive atmosphere I sometimes experience in that game, and from the little I've seen, it seems like it could. This is my most anticipated horror game of the year, and sadly, I'm going to have to wait almost the entirety of 2017 to finally play it. Well, that about does it. This is a year that looks to be packed with interesting horror games, and while probably not all of them are going to be good, by the same logic, they can't all be disasters, right? We're bound to get some classics this year. If not, maybe it's time to stick a fork in the genre, because if this roster of 12 games can't knock it out of the park, nothing will. Side note, I didn't include it, but I'm also pretty hyped for that Paranormal Activity VR title. Gonna put that HTC Vive room scale VR to work for that one. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the list. Let me know in the comments what you think about the games I listed, and if you have some you're looking forward to that I didn't include. Also, let me know if I listed some that you hadn't seen before. There's really a lot to keep track of this year, and we should all consolidate our findings. Thanks for watching. Think critically.